Yeah. Okay. So I'm making this video again because I just made this and I had myself blown up to the full size of the screen and I was like sitting on top of the content I was trying to show. I'm making these sloppy draft videos real quick because Hacker News found one of my sites before it was supposed to go public, and I'm camera shy, so I hadn't made the videos yet. But I'm on the spot now, so here we go. The question is, what is a finite state machine? What are they for? Why do you want them? What are FSMs good for? Finite state machines are the simple way to say it is they're a bag of states and a bag of allowed transitions between them. And to that end, we often use traffic lights. I'm going to start from scratch so that we can build an understanding together. Um, because traffic lights have some of the relevant concepts embedded in them. So to start with, a basic traffic light is typically, when you explain it, it's four states, and I'm actually going to double back on this in a minute. But the four states are the three colors: red, green, and yellow, and then the off state. We model the off state because the power goes out. They get taken down for maintenance. They're installed as new from scratch. The machine needs to know what to do when it's switching from on to ostensibly to red, right? And so why are we using the traffic light as the example? Well, because the colors, only certain colors are allowed to go to only certain colors, right? Green is allowed to go to yellow, but green is not allowed to go to red, and green is not allowed to go to itself. Similarly, red's allowed to go to green, but not to yellow or itself, and yellow is allowed to go to red, but not green or itself. And they're all allowed to go to off, and off is only allowed to go to, I don't know, red. Um, and so, modeling this as a state machine allows you to teach the computer that relationship, that one is not allowed to go to the other, without writing out like a whole bunch of branch conditional logic to actually track it. And my goal in making this language is to have a simple, like a trivially simple way to write machines, because I don't want like these big, complicated whatever. So what we do is we just write green is allowed to go to yellow, right? Um, and I mean, like, it's currently it's drawing this in red and this edge in red because as we've written it right now, yellow is a terminal state. That is to say, there's nowhere you can go after yellow. That's just the end of the machine. Some machines should have terminal states, others shouldn't. Like if your finite state machine is for parsing a string, then yeah, it really ought to have some terminal states. On the other hand, like if it's the TCP/IP state machine, it shouldn't. It should just keep rolling and rolling and rolling forever. So traffic lights are in the ladder bag. They shouldn't halt. That would suck. So now red's the terminal state, and there, right? And now it's a loop. And I guess I'm actually gonna write red first because you can manually specify the start states. Like you just inject the right header for it. It's start states. I always pull the headers off that button because I can never remember what they are. But that's a hassle, and I don't usually bother. Like it's good enough to just write it as the first one usually. Um, and then, like we said before, they should all be able to go to off. It doesn't really matter what order you rate these. Uh, right? But that also has, I mean, now off is a terminal state, so it needs somewhere to go when it comes on, which I guess we'll say is red, right? And actually, red, I mean, now that there's off, red isn't really the start state. Off is. So I'm going to just do that, right? And I guess I want it to flow left to right instead of top to bottom because it'll be easier to read. Make sure that I'm not sitting over it this time. Well, let's try that. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, that is an adequate model of a finite state machine. Now there are things you can do to hint the machine. We're gonna, like for example, these should be treated as the main cycle of the right, because that's what a traffic light ought to spend almost all of your time doing. Um, and then you also want to say that you have to force it to off, um, sort of like dash F on format. Make sure you're not screwing up, and that's an easier machine to understand. Um, And so, I mean, you could stop here and you could say, well, the value of a finite state machine is that it prevents green from going to red. Or, that way you can't get two greens up at the same time, and it'll prevent accidents. That's life critical. And that's one decent way to look at it. But I actually think that you should model a traffic light correctly. And a traffic light isn't a 4-state system, it's a 7-state system. As you can see right here in this photo, traffic lights are bidirectional. They don't handle one direction. They don't handle just north. They handle both north and east. So I would prefer to write it this way. Green north, red east. Yellow north, red east, right? And then that goes to red north, red east. And I'm about to intentionally put a bug in so that we can go over the value of being able to watch it while you're doing it again. So that'll go to red north, green east, to red north, yellow east, to red north, red east. You got that little loop down there. And you would finish at green north, red east. And you can see that's not correct because it's got these two self-contained loops that can go to each other. That would just have that one and that one running. Like you could just run the north cycle over and over and over again if you wanted. And the reason is because the two double red states are ambiguous. They're not the same. That one and that one, they're not the same. So there are a bunch of, you could add _2 onto them. I like to make one of them capital so it's clear what's dominant. To yellow north, to red north, and then that's to green east, to yellow east, to red east, and then back to green north, right? And now you have the correct 6-state loop because this red north and this red north are distinguished from one another. And of course, now you need to put in the off state. Right? And I mean, I guess I would again want a red to be the lead. I don't feel like rewriting it all. Well, yeah, no, it's easier than writing in the header. People don't read the header and understand what it means. So that's doubled up. And this needs to be repeated at the end, and there you go. And then again, we can just make it clear that these are dominant. I'm starting to have second thoughts about this flowing to the right, and then this actually needs to have a path back to right. And so maybe I should just get rid of, yeah, that's better. Okay. Right? And so that's a much more accurate model of a traffic light in that you know exactly what both states are at all times, and you don't have to coordinate one machine for each direction, and you don't have to get them on like some kind of timer or change one when the other changes. No, you just embed the entire state in a single machine. And now you don't have to protect against green or yellow or green or yellow green. There's nothing to protect against. Those states don't exist at all. And so this is, I guess, in my imagination, a much better example of the value of a finite state machine because you can build them up like this. And you can represent your data in such a way that there is no way to write the wrong thing. And that eliminates enormous classes of defect and makes it sometimes much, much easier to understand systems. So if you're asking yourself, why do we want state machines? I guess I think it's over things like this.